So hello to everybody. Anybody who was at my workshop yesterday, hello again and thank you so much. Because it's after lunch, even though I can't see you, for you it's after lunch, for me it's only 11:51 because I'm in London. But for everybody at my workshop, to make you laugh, I want you to do a little wiggle just to wake yourself up after lunchtime. So you stand up and I can't see any of you and you show me your bellies and you wiggle. Okay, so we're now awake and ready to go. So I was certified as a Scrum product owner in 2007, thanks to Melissa Lang, who's actually on the call. So I probably learned the whole approach pretty early on. I've had 25 years experience bringing new propositions, products and experiences to market from a very broad range of sectors and some of the brands you can see there below. So I've worked with people who have sort of side hustles and little side businesses or initiatives, local initiatives that they're starting, right the way through to very big corporate branded products, services and experiences. So I've brought a lot of products and services to market myself, but I've also helped a lot of other people do the same. So I've really seen what works and what doesn't. And so without sounding negative, everything I'm saying is based on experience and based on what can go wrong as well. So I'm looking to share that with you. So I guess my first question is to kind of set the scene for you. Some people may have ideas. I was talking to Michal just before this call. I know he's working, has a lot of ideas and wants to know how he can move forward with them. What should he do next? You might be working with someone else's ideas and thinking, is it a good idea? Will it actually deliver on what we're trying to achieve? What about in your Scrum teams for some of you? If you're going into a design sprint or you're looking at something on the board, a user story, and you're thinking, I don't know if that's a really good idea or not, then you are perfectly within your right to ask for evidence, right? What evidence is there that this is a good idea? Now, if people can't provide you the evidence, you'll probably be thinking, am I wasting my time? Am I going to waste our team resources, all the effort in actually delivering something that might work brilliantly in itself, but will it reach your overall goals? And I'm encouraging you guys to speak up and to say, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm not sure this is going to deliver what I want, or what we want as a business. So what I'm going to talk to you about is a way to very the next question I have for you is about what personality type you are. So in the end, a lot of this is about risk, okay? So if you have doubts, then you have risk, if that makes sense. If any of you know the lean practice of thinking about risky assumptions, that's where this fits as well. So which personality type are you? Are you very cautious? Do you see all the problems and risks? And maybe even with your own ideas that you might want to progress, you may actually kill ideas before they've even had a chance to go anywhere because you're too worried about what could go wrong. Or maybe you're a person who has so many ideas. I hear this a lot. I have so many ideas, I don't do anything with them because I've got too many. I don't know which one to start with. So again, I'm talking to you guys. And then there's the people who say, la, 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 I'm building. Shh, I'm busy. I either don't see risk or I'm just focused on what I have to deliver. Or there are some people who say, I know what people want and this is it. I don't need the evidence. That's fine. But these are sort of risk approaches that may resonate with you. So the first question is always, what is the ultimate goal here? Whether it's your own idea or something you're working on in a business, what are you actually trying to achieve? And being clear about that is the first step. Otherwise, you don't know how to measure whether it's a good idea or not. So what is an idea? Surely it has to help you deliver on a commercial or personal goal, whatever that is. An idea will often make you question, as I've said earlier, is this worth my time? It's going to take energy. Is it worth it? And of course, ideas happen all the time. So if you're a product owner and come from a product background like me, you know this product life cycle curve. This is something that was created in the 60s and it's still good today. And so ideas happen at all stages of the curve. You could have a product in maturity, for example, but you're still delivering new features into it. A new feature is an idea. So it doesn't have to be just a mega thing, like I've got a whole new business idea. It could be something micro, like a small feature, or it could be a marketing campaign that you're being asked to deliver some functionality for, and so on. And I always measure, you know, those things that keep you awake at night. It's like also, you know, when you're involved in a relationship and you're thinking, enough, I've been in this relationship a number of years, I really should get out of it now. It's that waking thought where you're like, oh, there's something not right. And that is likely to be a good identifier of whether it's a risk or not. But I will tell you something, and it's not just me that says it, Nielsen say it, and all sorts of other big analysts have done a lot of work around why ideas fail. And I'm telling you that the biggest reason for an idea to fail is because you have assumptions about how people feel, think, and how they're going to behave, right? This is the biggest thing. You're assuming how mostly your customers and your users are going to feel, think, and behave. And this process is going to help you to get evidence for that, which reduces your risk. So if you focus on people and the pain and the benefits, you will understand more about what people want if you get eye to eye with them. I deliberately say eye to eye and face to face because, you know, we're on video right now, and I've seen other researchers talk about how you can't do research in COVID. Is absolute nonsense. The best research you can do is looking in someone's eyes, and we have video, and hey, we're getting really good at using video now. So it's an absolute fallacy. You can absolutely have these conversations using video. But what I'm saying to you is speak up and stand up and confront and face them. Don't let the relationship, you know, that relationship you want to get out of, carry on because you'll waste your time and your effort. Just confront it immediately and don't pretend it doesn't exist. We have an expression in the UK, burying your head in the sand. You can't actually hear what's going on above. Don't do that because you'll be wasting your time. And of course, understanding what people feel, think, and behave, and making sure you're not making assumptions is something that should stick with you forever through the whole duration of all the work that you're doing, right? You never stop. It's not something you do just as an early idea stage. It's something you do throughout. So the really good idea test will work at all these different stages. And when you do speak to customers, there's no excuse for being disorganized. You must always be structured and use a research script and have very focused conversations and stay objective and all that good practice. And all of this smacks of, if any of you know the expression, the value proposition. All right, and that's another whole session I'd love to deliver one day. But creating and being true to a value proposition will mean that you really work out what benefit you can deliver to solve people's problems and meet their needs. And that's what this is all about. So we do talk about customers who pay for the product. We talk about users who also get benefit from using the product. They may be the same person, they may not. A big mistake that people make is they concentrate just on the customer giving you the money or just on the user who's using the product. As I say, they can be the same person, but if they're not, it's super important that you recognize them as two different groups. But there are also other people who are instrumental to making your idea a success. And some of them are listed here, you can see on the slide, but some of them will be a surprise, they'll be a mystery. So I'll give you an example. I ran a project, as I said, I've worked on many diverse areas. I ran a project to bring an old market back to life, an indoor market, and it was a beautiful space. And one thing I didn't figure on as I was leading the project was that there would be some local kind of charity and pressure and social groups who were very interested in how the space was used. And before we did anything with the market to bring it back to life, we had no idea they existed. They only kind of popped up as we started the project. But talking around and listening and identifying who are these people who could derail your idea is so important. And there might even be some mystery people, and that's what my example is here. So you look at these people, and here's another expression. I don't know if you have this in your cultures and so on, but is there an elephant in your room? So imagine there was an elephant sitting behind me. I can see Michal now on the screen. You know, would he go, there's an elephant behind you? Or would he just keep quiet because, because he wants me to kind of concentrate and be able to deliver this? So don't ignore the elephant in the room. It's again my message. If you're uncomfortable with something, you don't see evidence, you think your work might be wasted, stand up, say so, and then as a team you might be able to go through this very quick process. All right, so it's anti-waste. I'm sure that you do this naturally if you are working under Scrum and Agile principles. You will pause regularly to make sure that you're still going in the right direction. So you have an opportunity to say, there's a risky assumption being made here. I'm not sure people are going to behave this way. I'm not sure people want this. You know, and that's the point. There's a lot of people who are very concerned about sharing something that isn't built into a prototype with customers and getting feedback on some words written on a piece of paper, for example. And I'm saying that it's never too early to do this. So you can test your ideas out, even if you haven't created or developed anything. Now, obviously, Michal referred to my book. All of these things go into a great lot of more examples and real life practice and things I've learned and toolkits and so on in the book. But I'm just going to park the idea with you and just say to you, you can test something out really, really early. All right. Of course, I'm sure you're always iterating and learning as you're going. And I'm sure you're also very happy to stop. There's no shame in stopping, right? I always think, if any of you know, with tarot cards, if you pull the tarot card, which is death, you know, it's not death, it's actually a new beginning of something. It's like a rebirth, right? So you can stop putting your energy into something that's not working and start putting your energy into something that has got evidence and looks like it's a good idea. So nothing to stop you here. So it's just a question. I wonder when you last kind of paused and pivoted or stopped because you had evidence, right? So here's the really good idea test. You can see the diagram here, and the 7 steps in the diagram really look a lot like what you do when you go and engage with customers and users, right? So this piece of it isn't so dramatic as you would think, but it's very practical. And what you'll see is these dotted arrows that go backwards. So what this means is you're constantly iterating. So let's say you write a hypothesis, number 1, and step 2, you identify risks. And when you start writing questions in step 3 that you need to gather, you think, oh, actually, I think my risk is different. I don't think that is a risk. You can go back, you can go backwards and forwards. So it's iterative. But it must be chronological. So if you're in step 5 and you think, my hypothesis isn't right, in step 1, you have to then work back through 2, 3, 4 to get back to 5, right? So it has an order. Again, it's quick and DIY, do it yourself. As Michal lined up at the beginning, he said, you know, this is something you can do yourself. So in my workshop yesterday with a bunch of lovely people, we talked about getting your whole Scrum team involved. Now, I think 9 people out of 10 can do this. I accept that some people don't enjoy talking to customers. It's just so unnatural for them. I accept it. But 9 out of 10 people could do this. And it actually becomes a really bonding and insightful activity that you can do as a Scrum team. And as I've said, you don't really need any experience because you get lots of training, for example, in step 6 from the book or from my workshops in how to conduct interviews and how to practice and how to do it all. So it really does work for different sectors, different organizations. So I'm going to give you a real kind of top line run through. And as I do it, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the common pitfalls. Right, so step one, you're going to write your hypothesis. So your hypothesis almost starts like a we believe statement, and it includes what you're trying to achieve, which is your goal that we spoke about earlier. So it's usually, it could be revenue, a number of customers, number of, amount of engagement over a period of time. So it's quite a specific sort of business goal. So you understand what it is you're trying to actually achieve and deliver, who you're trying to offer the solution for, who are you creating benefit for, and really important, what action you need them to take. So if you understand value propositions, this covers the value proposition is included in this piece, but the extra credit is what you need them to do. So I've seen people create the most beautiful products. For example, a long time ago when apps first started, I tested out a music app for somebody. And the app got the most incredible feedback from a teenage group, but none of them were prepared to pay for it, right? And they said, well, no, we can actually use at the time iTunes and we can get music for free as well. Why would we pay? And so that action of paying or downloading something, or in a business environment, implementing a new system, people, systems, processes, you've got a lot to do to actually enjoy a new product. And are people prepared, customers, users, prepared to take that action? So find that up front. So it's something that you test throughout the process. It's often missed. Okay, number two, you look at what you've written and you say, for which of these do I have low evidence? And if I'm wrong, is this going to collapse my whole idea? Is this going to dead my whole idea, right? Does my idea fail because I've got this assumption wrong? And by doing this little mapping exercise, low to high evidence, low to high business impact, you'll find that quadrant where you have high risk. Okay, and the other thing about this, and where people get this, spend a lot of time going through the test, and they don't need to, because evidence already exists, right? It's unbelievable. So particularly if you're working in a big business, if you have an intranet or other teams that you ask them, do you know anything about this sort of a customer? Do you know how they feel, think, and behave? Perhaps they're already taking another product from you, or you've got people who understand them in the business, right? Let alone internally. Externally, we're in an age now where people love to write, particularly about their failures. Right? So you'll find a lot of information about why things failed. I think particularly of some of the big chefs whose restaurants pre-COVID went into receivership. If any of you know Jamie Oliver, he wrote a lot online about why his restaurants failed, what the problem was, and you can learn from all of that. So my point here is check that the evidence doesn't already exist. So you don't have to go through this test if the evidence exists, right? Then you look at those key risk areas and you ask yourself, what are the questions I need to ask to get the answers that reduce the risk, right? So how do I get that evidence? What exact questions? So we had fun yesterday in the workshop, writing honest and open questions to actually get the conversation going. And you've got a trick here, and people, first of all, tend to write so many questions. And when I say you can only have 10 questions overall, it really makes people focus down and concentrate. And I've also designed 4 main sections, which are the biggest, most common 4 risks that appear. Again, I haven't got time to give them to you now, but it will certainly give you help towards that, and you'll be able to categorize. Please don't use surveys. If you're trying to find out how people feel and think, you've got to look in their eyes, right? You've got to feel, you've got to see their expression. Like, I look pained, like, oh, this is a real problem for me. You can't see that if they're writing a survey. What you can't also see is you can't see this. Wow, that's quiet, that's nice. But you can't see them pause and think about a question. And if you're face to face with them, eye to eye with them, you can say, hey, I saw you had a good think about that. What were you thinking? You'll never get that in a survey. You'll miss all this valuable insight. And of course, body language as well as facial expression, all of that is kind of 70% of insight, right? You get from looking at somebody. So please don't do surveys. Okay, then you go and try and recruit them, okay? So you write like a shopping list of people, and I suggest that you start with only five. Some of you will know Jacob Nielsen from usability testing, 5. I'd say the same for this, start with 5. You can always go to more people, and if you realise at the end of your 5 that you've got to make a dramatic change, you've only done 5, so you can go back and iterate and start again. You haven't lost much. And work out how to recruit them again. There's a load of we don't have time for it, but an awful lot of advice I have on how you can recruit. Yes, don't recruit your friends and don't recruit your parents and so on, but you can get them to help you recruit. That's a different thing because you don't know the people you're interviewing. So all that sort of advice. And measures and targets. So look, feelings and emotion is very difficult to be scientific about, but what I've done here is I've designed a way to be scientific. So you look at those risks that you've identified in step 2, you've created questions in step 3, and now you need to know what to do with the answers you get. So what you want to say is, okay, out of the 5 people I'm going to interview, I need 4 people to answer this way. I need 3 people to answer this way. And you're setting measures so you know that if 3 people answer that way, that equals good evidence and your risk is reduced. I should say at this point, you will never have 0 risk. Not possible. There is never like no risk. Okay, we're human, but what you can do is reduce the risk. And then of course you go on to conduct the interviews. This is always my favorite, the favorite exercise I run in my workshops. Is helping people to practice their research skills and how to have a very comfortable and open conversation without leading the person, and how to keep it really focused to get those 10 or so questions answered. Okay, and then as you analyze your results, I always ask people to record, so, again, another whole session on this, but how to audio record your interviews so that you listen back and you make sure that you're being as neutral as you possibly can, and then you can make your decisions about what you do. Now, obviously, you could go back and interview more people. You might be pursuing onto a development stage or even into a design sprint at this point. But whatever you decide to do, there's a very important set of decisions you can now make because you have evidence. To help you along this journey, I've also created some templates which you're feel free to download from my website at productdoctor.co.uk. You can see that at the bottom of the screen, and you can also get in touch with me whenever you like. But there is a tab on my website to get these templates. You will find a little more information around them. A bit like the business model canvas, you will be able to use them without any guidance, but you'll do a lot better job if you do have guidance, whether it's the book or one of my workshops, or I come and do something with your team. It will help you. Most importantly, it keeps you all consistent, particularly if you're all going out and doing your own interviews. So it gives you a place to write the answers to each of the steps that you go through. And when you've finished, right at the bottom, we talked earlier about evidence, right? So if you actually document the output in one page, certainly in a business, you'll find that all the teams who've done these exercises have got a results page, and you'll see who they spoke to and what they found out and what the hypothesis was. That's gold dust. That could save you actually going and repeating the same work, right? Anti-waste campaign. So all of this is going to help you to gather evidence, make decisions and move forward. So stop being stuck, right? Whether you're thinking you've got too many ideas, or whether you're busy building something and you've got a little nag about it, or whether you're very risk averse, or there's an elephant in the room and you're going la la la, whatever it is, it's going to help you to gather the evidence, to make decisions that will help you to move forward. It unblocks you. So I do encourage you to stand up and speak up, and actually consider doing this as a team activity. So talked about my book. It is available on amazon.co.uk. It's taken about 2 years to write, and it's based on 25 years of experience with lots of tools and techniques, and it goes through these 7 practical steps to help you to test your ideas and gather evidence. So here it is on .co.uk, and it's actually supposed to be coming out this week. So this is almost my launch event, right? Because we can't do anything in person. Do feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and talk with me, and my Twitter account's there as well. I'm really up for speaking to people. Unlike a lot of you, I am a one-woman band, right? So I'm just Product Doctor, it's just me. So I love to connect and talk to people. And I am quiet sometimes, and I will listen to you because I'm a researcher too, right? So there we are. And yeah, I'm happy to come and work with your teams. And I also have a public workshop, which is split over 3 days, 3 short days, 20th of October. And I've put a discount code there for you. So that's me. Back to Michal. I think we might have some questions.
Hello. Thank you for the talk. Yeah, I do have questions. So my first question is, what is the minimum viable interview? So, for example, you outlined this 7-step process, but is there like an atom, a kernel of the idea? If you have, let's say, 1 question, 1 interviewee, 1 insight, how would that look like? Does it make sense to have a minimum viable interview that is something smaller?
I understand what you're saying. I would say to you, this whole process is minimum viable. It's only 5 people. Yeah, you can get through this process really quickly, but you can't skip it. You've got to work out what it is you're trying to achieve and nail the assumption that you're making, be really, really clean and clear. Now, it might be that you have only 1 main question, but it's about your particular circumstance. So I'm sure that we can design something that's quite small, and maybe it's a series of 10-minute interviews, but go through the process to find that out. So if you go through and you say, tick, I've got that evidence there, tick, I've got this evidence here, and you look at my 4 main sections and you think, I've got it, there's only 1 question I need to ask, that's fine. And you could end up with a very small interview, but you still are addressing a risk, you're gathering evidence for the risk, you're scoring how people answer, yeah? And I wouldn't take less than 5. I wouldn't. It's dangerous. Not a big enough sample.
Okay, in the meantime, we have another question from Konrad. So Konrad asks, should there be a time box for conducting such tests?
For actually carrying out the interview?
I think we can, maybe we can address both, the whole process, like space between interviews and 1 interview.
Okay, so to go through, to do 1 interview, it's a bit like a meeting, right? What's the max amount of time you can expect someone to sit and be engaged and talk to you? Is it 45 minutes? Is it 1 hour? If we're doing a video interview, if I'm doing bigger groups and I'm working with people physically, then I could do something and then do a break, right? But it also depends on the incentivization, the reward you give them. Okay, so there's a maximum limit of what's comfortable because people will just start to dry up. And in terms of the whole process, if you really go for it, and depending on how difficult or easy your respondent group is to find and recruit, right, if they're really easy, you could go through this process concentrated in as little as maybe 10 days, right, maybe less. If you've got other work to do at the same time, I say it comfortably 3 weeks, comfortable. And that's really taking your time and doing things. But you can scrunch it down and go through it, maybe even in a week, depending if your people are easy to find.
Got it. Okay, I hope that answers Conrad's question. And my last question is, okay, so you talked about how to test your idea. Is it a really good idea or not? And then find out any, let's say, deficiencies of the idea. But when do you think is it time to ignore the research and believe in the idea, even if it doesn't seem that it's great right now?
Yeah, so it's a great point. Okay, so we all know people who do things from gut and sheer belief, right? And they don't test stuff out. And it goes brilliantly well. Those people are in the minority, I have to tell you. If you really think you're one of those people, I really respect that and go for it. okay? But with most people, you need to test things out. I have never done an interview that I didn't learn something from. Let me put that a positive way. Whenever I do carry out an interview, and I must have carried out thousands and thousands of interviews as a product person, as a researcher, as running the Really Good Idea test and running research for clients as well. You know, I thought I knew something. I created a load of public workshops, as I've talked about, and I even put that to the test, right? I put my book subtitle, Get Evidence, Make Decisions, to the test. I put everything to the test, and I always find out something I didn't know, because it's just me and my mind and my thoughts and my experience, and that can't be enough. I can't be fully representative. I can't know what people think. So what I would say to you is, you may be one of those 1 in a million people. Great, massive respect for you. You're probably not. I always find out things, new things that I didn't expect. It always surprises me, and I always change things for myself and for my clients. But then you get to a point where, as you say, enough is enough. Right. So, for example, very big education company in the UK, they were looking at putting, before COVID, funnily enough, the project I was doing just as COVID started was about online learning. Can you believe it? So taking the big qualification you do when you're 18, it's an A-level in the UK, online, right? And this was the big project for them. What do you do about taking it online, and how people react to it? And for that project, as an example, I spoke to only about 30 people up and down the country. So 10 people in a big city, 10 people in a rural, and another 10 people in the north of the country. So I made sure I covered it. It was only 30. That wasn't a lot, really. That wasn't a lot. I actually ran research groups, and based on the evidence I got, because I'd set metrics and I knew that 3 out of 5 said this, 4 out of 5 said that, I'd set my metrics. So I knew when I'd hit them. Do you see what I mean? So I could measure it, and then I could say, look, this was consistent amongst 30 people, that, you know, that I had an 80% like, basically, from 30 people. That was enough. And that was a national, in fact, international education company. So you've got to pick the number and set a number that feels about right, but you will never, ever reduce your risk 100%. It won't happen. But don't get stuck. And I write about this in the book, about this kind of paralysis, or I can't move, I haven't got enough. You have to make a decision and move forward, which is why that's in the subtitle of the book.
Yeah. So one way to look at it is that don't think of it as a threat that the interviews will kill your idea. You, if you want, you can pursue your bad idea anyway, but you will have more context to draw from.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Yes, it must be positive. It must be positive.
Okay. And last question, also from Conrad. Do you think it can be also used to examine ideas inside one team?
Example?
So let's say, I don't know if that's what Conrad meant, but I will add context that let's say you are a Scrum Master or someone like that, Agile coach, and you are considering some activity or some change in their collaboration system.
I know.
How to test that idea.
Yeah, great. So perhaps you're actually considering adopting the Really Good Idea testing a team activity. Right. But the point is, and to what you've just said as well, with every new idea, there has to be somebody that benefits, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't do stuff. Okay. If there's somebody that benefits, then they're your customer. If they're your customer, are you making assumptions about how they feel, think, or are going to behave? And if you are, then you put it to the test. If you're not and you have evidence, go do. Great, you're done, right? Cool. But in my opinion, if you're doing something that doesn't have any value to anyone, you shouldn't be doing it, right?
So the key question is like, who cares?
Yeah, lovely.
Okay, thanks a lot, Julia. I really enjoyed the talk, and I'm definitely going to use the process for my own ideas, and I hope the rest of the audience can also extract it for their benefit.
I'm thrilled, and I have a room in the Slack channel as well, so people can come and speak to me.
Exactly. If you would like to continue the discussion, there's a Slack channel. It's called Talk Shalet. I have got this. Great idea, and you can join us there and ask further questions if you like.